Have you ever wondered if there's a better way to react to the everyday problems that we all face? From the frustration of a traffic jam to the stress of a heavy workload or the tension in a difficult relationship, we are all too familiar with these daily struggles. And while it's entirely human to react to these problems with annoyance, anxiety, or anger, there's an ancient philosophy that suggests a different approach. Enter Stoicism, a school of thought birthed in the bustling markets of ancient Greece and refined in the grand halls of Roman power. Stoicism, at its core, is a philosophy of emotional resilience, teaching us how to remain tranquil in the face of life's inevitable adversities. It's not about suppressing emotions, but rather understanding and harnessing them, gaining control over our reactions. Imagine if, instead of becoming irate in a traffic jam, you could calmly accept the situation, acknowledging it as a part of life's unpredictability. Or instead of stressing over a mounting workload, you could focus on what's in your control and let go of the rest. What if, in the midst of a relationship conflict, you could maintain your composure and respond with understanding rather than heated emotions? This is the power of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to differentiate between what we can control and what we can't, and to focus our energy on the former. It encourages us to view problems not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth and learning. It is a way of life that promotes resilience, tranquility, and wisdom, qualities that are all too often overlooked in our fast-paced, reactive world. Stoicism is not a magic pill that will make all your problems disappear, but it is a practical, time-tested philosophy that can equip you with the tools to handle life's challenges with grace and equanimity. Stay tuned as we delve into the Stoic approach to dealing with everyday problems. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. How would a Stoic handle this situation? Picture this: you're in your car, the clock is ticking, and the sea of brake lights in front of you is as red as a London double-decker. Your pulse quickens, your palms sweat, and you can almost hear the tick-tock of the clock echoing in your ears. But wait, let's pause here. How would a Stoic handle this situation? Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, teaches us to focus on what's within our control and accept what's not. In the grand scheme of things, the traffic jam is not something within your control. The Stoic approach here would be to take a deep breath, relax your grip on the steering wheel, and accept the situation as it is. Remember, Stoicism doesn't mean being passive or indifferent. Rather, it's about understanding the limits of your influence and focusing your energy where it truly matters. In this case, you can't control the traffic, but you can control your reaction to it. Can you use this time more productively? Perhaps you can listen to an audiobook, catch up on the news, or simply enjoy a moment of solitude amidst the chaos. Take a moment to consider this. The traffic, the delay, the impending meeting, these are external factors. They are indifferent to your stress and worry. It's your interpretation of these events that stirs up negative emotions. So instead of cursing the traffic or agonizing over the potential repercussions of being late, a Stoic would choose to see the situation objectively. Moreover, the Stoics believed in the transience of all things. This traffic jam, like everything else in life, is temporary. It won't last forever. So why allow it to disrupt your peace of mind? The Stoic approach is about cultivating an inner fortress, impervious to the turbulence of the external world. It's about finding serenity amidst the chaos, tranquility amidst the storm. And so, as you sit there, stuck in traffic, remember this: the only thing truly within your control is your own mind. The traffic, the delay, the meeting, these are all external, transient, indifferent. Your peace of mind, your tranquility, your serenity, these are within your control. A Stoic would remain calm, knowing that the traffic is beyond their control. Let's consider a scenario at work where you're facing a tight deadline and feeling stressed. What would a Stoic do? Well, the first thing to remember is that Stoicism teaches us to perceive things as they are, not worse than they are. This is a crucial principle when it comes to dealing with workplace stress. Imagine you're sitting at your desk, your heart pounding, your mind racing with thoughts of the enormous task ahead. The clock is ticking and the deadline is looming. It's easy to get swept up in the storm of stress and anxiety, but pause for a moment. What would a Stoic do? They would remind themselves to see the situation objectively, stripped of extraneous thoughts and fears. They would look at the work that needs to be done, not as a terrifying mountain of tasks, but simply as a series of steps that need to be completed. They would focus on the task at hand, rather than the accompanying stress. They would also remind themselves that the stress they're feeling is not caused by the work itself, but by their perception of it. It's not the size of the task that's causing the stress, it's the thought of it. This is a fundamental tenet of Stoicism, the understanding that our reactions to situations are within our control, even if the situations themselves are not. So instead of allowing their thoughts to spiral into anxiety, they would choose to see the task for what it is. They would break it down into manageable parts and tackle each part one at a time. They would focus on doing the best they can rather than worrying about the outcome. Remember, Stoicism isn't about eliminating emotions, but rather about managing them. It's about taking a step back, assessing the situation objectively, and making a conscious decision about how to respond. So the next time you're faced with a stressful situation at work, take a leaf out of the Stoics book. Don't let your perception of the task amplify your stress. Instead, see it for what it is, break it down, and tackle it step by step. A Stoic would take a step back, assess the task at hand objectively, and focus on the work rather than the stress. Now, picture a disagreement with a loved one. How would a Stoic approach this? A Stoic, in the face of relationship issues, would first and foremost employ empathy. They would strive to understand the other person's point of view, to truly grasp what they're feeling and why. Stoics remind us that every individual has their own unique perspective shaped by a lifetime of experiences, and it's crucial to acknowledge this. It's not about who is right or who is wrong, it's about understanding each other's realities. Imagine a disagreement about household chores, for instance. One person feels overwhelmed, while the other feels unappreciated. A Stoic would not focus on the surface issue, the chores, but rather on the underlying emotions and perspectives. They would seek to comprehend why the other person feels overwhelmed or unappreciated, and then work towards a resolution that respects these feelings. The second key practice a Stoic would apply is understanding. This goes beyond empathy. It's about looking at the situation objectively without personal bias. It's about recognizing that sometimes we're part of the problem, and that's okay. It's only by understanding our role in the conflict that we can begin to find a solution. Now, let's not forget the Stoics' master tool, not letting emotions cloud judgment. It's easy to get swept up in the heat of the moment. Anger, frustration, disappointment, these can all lead us to say things we don't mean or make decisions we later regret. But a Stoic would strive to keep a clear head, to not let their emotions take the driver's seat. They would take a step back, breathe and respond rather than react. So, when faced with relationship issues, a Stoic would navigate the stormy waters with empathy, understanding, and a clear mind. They would not let the heat of the moment dictate their actions, but rather they would strive to understand the other's perspective, to empathize with their feelings, and to respond thoughtfully. A Stoic would strive to understand the other's perspective and not let emotions dictate their response. What about when we face health issues or physical discomfort? How would a Stoic respond? This question brings us to the heart of one of life's most challenging trials: health concerns. Stoicism, a philosophical school born in ancient Greece, offers a unique perspective on this. When we confront health issues, it's easy to fall into despair, to feel overwhelmed by the situation, to feel that we've lost control. But a Stoic would approach this differently. They would lean into the practice of acceptance. Acceptance, in this context, doesn't mean giving in or giving up. Rather, it means acknowledging the reality of the situation and understanding that some things are beyond our control. Stoics believe that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. In the face of health issues, this means focusing on what we can do, whether that's following a treatment plan, maintaining a balanced diet, or practicing mindfulness to manage the emotional toll. A Stoic would remind you that your attitude is within your control. It's easy to let health concerns dominate your thoughts, to let them cast a shadow over everything else. But a Stoic would strive to maintain a positive mindset, to find joy and fulfillment in the present moment, regardless of the circumstances. Remember, Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's okay to feel scared, to feel upset, but a Stoic would aim to respond to these emotions in a rational, constructive way. They would strive to manage their responses, to not let their emotions control them. It's also worth noting that Stoicism encourages proactive behavior. It's not just about sitting back and accepting things as they are. If there's something you can do to improve your health, a Stoic would encourage you to do it. In essence, a Stoic would accept the situation, focusing on maintaining a positive mindset and doing what they can to improve their health. It's about finding that balance of acceptance and action, of understanding what's within your control and what's not. Health concerns can be challenging, but with a Stoic mindset, we can navigate them with resilience and grace. And finally, consider financial worries. How would a Stoic approach this all too common problem? The Stoic philosophy offers an intriguing perspective on this issue, one that might seem counterintuitive in our materialistic society. Stoics believed that the ebb and flow of fortune were beyond one's control, and therefore not worth distressing over. They argued that material wealth, like all external possessions, is impermanent and constantly changing. One could be rich today and poor tomorrow, or vice versa. The Stoics understood this impermanence and made peace with it. This is not to say Stoics were against wealth or comfort. Rather, they posited that these should not be the primary pursuits of life. They maintained that wealth does not equate to happiness, and that the relentless pursuit of wealth often leads to more dissatisfaction and unease. Instead of focusing on accumulating wealth, Stoics advocated for the cultivation of inner peace and contentment. They believed that true happiness comes from within, not from external possessions or circumstances. They encouraged the development of virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. These virtues, they argued, are permanent, reliable, and within one's control. Stoics suggested that we should aim to be indifferent to wealth, treating it as a preferred indifference, something nice to have, but not necessary for a good, fulfilling life. They urged us to focus on what we can control, our actions, our responses, our attitudes. By doing so, we can achieve a sense of tranquility and contentment that is not reliant on external factors. So when facing financial worries, a Stoic would take a step back and reflect. They would remind themselves that wealth is transient, that it is not within their control, and that it is not the key to happiness. They would strive to maintain their inner peace and contentment, regardless of their financial situation. In conclusion, a Stoic would remind themselves that wealth comes and goes, and that true contentment comes from within. They would remind themselves of the impermanence of wealth and the importance of inner peace. This Stoic perspective may provide a refreshing antidote to the financial worries that plague many in our modern society. So, we've seen how a Stoic would handle a range of everyday problems. Let's recap. In the Daily Commute, the Stoic response was one of acceptance and focus. Rather than succumbing to road rage or frustration, the Stoic accepts the situation as it is, focusing on things within their control, like their reaction to the traffic, the choice of music, or the opportunity to listen to an audiobook. When facing workplace stress, a Stoic would not let their emotions get the better of them. They would remain calm and composed, choosing to focus on their work and the tasks at hand. They would not allow external factors, such as office politics or a demanding boss, to disturb their peace of mind. Instead, they would take constructive action where possible and accept the rest with equanimity. In dealing with relationship issues, a Stoic would strive for understanding and patience. They would not let emotions cloud their judgment or reactions. Instead, they would try to understand the other person's perspective and focus on what can be controlled, their own actions and responses. When it comes to health concerns, a Stoic would not let fear or worry consume them. They would accept the reality of the situation, focus on what they can control, like their diet, exercise, and attitude, and leave the rest to fate. They would not let their peace of mind be dictated by factors beyond their control. And finally, in the face of financial worries, a Stoic would not panic or despair. They would focus on what they can control, such as their spending habits, their savings plan, or their efforts to earn more. They would not allow their happiness to be dependent on external factors like wealth or material possessions. In summary, the Stoic responses to everyday problems revolve around the themes of acceptance, focus on what can be controlled, and not letting emotions dictate responses. These principles help the Stoic maintain peace of mind, regardless of the situation. Remember, the goal of Stoicism is not to avoid problems, but to change our reactions to them. Now, you might be wondering, can I become more stoic in my everyday life? Well, the answer is a resounding yes. Stoicism isn't just a philosophy confined to the pages of ancient texts. It's a practical, everyday guide to living life with serenity and contentment. Think about it. We've all experienced the daily commute, workplace stress, relationship issues, health concerns, financial worries, the ups and downs that make up the fabric of our lives. These challenges can sometimes feel overwhelming, but remember, it's not these events themselves that disturb us, but our perception of them. This is the essence of Stoicism. Understanding that we have control over our reactions even when we can't control the situations we find ourselves in. Incorporating Stoic principles into your daily life doesn't mean suppressing emotions or becoming indifferent. Instead, it gives you the tools to manage these emotions, to respond rather than react. It's about finding peace in the midst of chaos, about cultivating resilience in the face of adversity. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, to accept what we can't, and to distinguish between the two. This simple yet profound understanding can lead to a life that is more peaceful, more content, and ultimately more fulfilling. So, can you become more stoic in your everyday life? Absolutely. Start by taking small steps. The next time you're stuck in traffic, instead of letting frustration take hold, remember the Stoic principle of acceptance. When you're facing stress at work, use the Stoic practice of focusing on what's within your control. The beauty of Stoicism is that it's not an all-or-nothing philosophy. You don't have to fully adopt all its principles overnight. It's a journey. And each step you take on the path to becoming more stoic can bring you closer to a more tranquil and resilient existence. Stoicism then offers a blueprint for a life well lived, one that is marked by tranquility, resilience, and wisdom.